Alright, welcome to the definitive iPhone versus Android video. It's an impossible debate, right? In a lot of ways, people just get so entrenched on one side that they never want to flip to the other side. To each their own. You hear that all the time. But I have a solution, so here's how we're going to do this. So I'm going to break this down into 7 meaningful categories. So there has to be a winner, no tie. But since we're not psychos, and we know that one winner doesn't automatically apply to every human on Earth. Before we dive into the details, let's acknowledge that specs and performance can't only tell us so much. What truly matters is the overall experience. Let's get into it. So, alright, notice. To implement the experiment, we sampled the best Apple phone versus the best Android phone. iPhone 14 Pro Max versus Samsung S23 Ultra. Category number 1, design and build quality. The main differences in design and build quality between the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the Samsung S23 Ultra are as follows. Size and weight. The Samsung S23 Ultra is narrower and lighter, measuring 6.4 x 3.0 x 0.35 inches and weighing 8.2 ounces, while the iPhone 14 Pro Max is slightly larger, measuring 6.3 x 3.1 x 0.31 inches and weighing 8.5 ounces. This makes the Samsung S23 Ultra easier to use in one hand. Display. Both phones have impressive displays, but the Samsung S23 Ultra has a slight edge in terms of real estate and color saturation. The S23 Ultra features a 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X Quad HD display with a 120Hz adaptive refresh rate and 500pI, while the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display with a 120Hz refresh rate and 458 ppi. Build materials. The iPhone 14 Pro Max features a blocky design with sharp steel edges, providing a more secure grip but not the most comfortable one. On the other hand, the Samsung S23 Ultra has rounded edges, making it more comfortable to hold but slightly more slippery. Cameras. The iPhone 14 Pro Max has a new 48 megapixels main camera capable of shooting in both 12 megapixels and 48 megapixels RAW formats for more brightness or detail. However, the Samsung S23 Ultra is considered the more versatile camera phone, with a 200 megapixel camera, 100x space zoom, and various other camera features. Operating system. The iPhone 14 Pro Max runs on iOS, while the Samsung S23 Ultra runs on Android. This may be a personal preference for users, depending on which operating system they are more familiar with. Price. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is less expensive than the Samsung S23 Ultra, which may be a deciding factor for some users. In summary, the price difference between iPhone and Android devices can be significant, with iPhones generally being priced higher. This is due to several factors including brand prestige, design and build quality, and the perceived value of the iOS ecosystem. However, it's important to note that there are also many affordable Android options on the market, offering a wide range of prices for different budgets. Category number 2, display. The display quality is one of the most important features of a smartphone, and both the iPhone 14 Pro Max and Samsung S23 Ultra have impressive displays. Here are the main differences in display quality between the two phones. Size. The Samsung S23 Ultra has a larger display than the iPhone 14 Pro Max, measuring 6.8 inches compared to 6.7 inches. This may be a deciding factor for users who prefer a larger screen. Resolution. Both phones have high-resolution displays, but the Samsung S23 Ultra has a slightly higher resolution with 1440 pixels compared to the iPhone 14 Pro Max's 1284 pixels. This means that the Samsung S23 Ultra has a slightly sharper display. Refresh rate. Both phones have a 120Hz refresh rate, which means that the display refreshes 120 times per second for smoother scrolling and animations. Color accuracy. In terms of color accuracy, the iPhone 14 Pro Max performed better in natural mode, while the Samsung S23 Ultra fared better in vivid mode. However, the Samsung S23 Ultra has a wider color gamut and more vibrant colors overall. Brightness. In lab tests, the iPhone 14 Pro Max had a slightly higher brightness when viewing HDR content compared to the Samsung S23 Ultra. However, the Samsung S23 Ultra has a brighter peak, brightness of 2000 nits, compared to the iPhone 14 Pro Max's 1200 nits. Overall, Both phones have amazing displays, but the Samsung S23 Ultra has a slight edge in terms of size, resolution, and color vibrancy. However, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a higher brightness for HDR content and may be a better choice for users who prioritize color accuracy. Category number 3. Performance. The performance of the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the Samsung S23 Ultra can be compared in several aspects, including display, camera, battery life, and overall performance. Display. Both phones have amazing displays, but the Samsung S23 Ultra offers slightly more real estate and better color saturation, giving it a slight edge in this category. Camera. The iPhone 14 Pro Max has a new 48 megapixels main camera capable of shooting in both 12 megapixel and 48 megapixel RAW formats, while the Samsung S23 Ultra has impressive video quality. The winner in this category is a draw, as it depends on the user's preferences. Battery life. The Samsung S23 Ultra has a bigger 5,000 mAh battery, which results in longer standby and phone call runtimes. However, the iPhone 14 Pro Max outperforms the S23 Ultra in terms of video playback and browsing runtimes. Sound quality. The Samsung S23 Ultra is considered to have better sound quality, with clearer vocals and flatter tracks, while the iPhone 14 Pro Max provides extra bass but muffles the vocals and makes everything sound deeper. Overall performance. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is powered by the A16 Bionic chip, which provides amazing performance. However, it now faces serious competition from the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip in the Samsung S23 Ultra. The iPhone 14 Pro Max wins on price and value, less expensive, and it continues to deliver the best overall performance. Here are the prices for Amazon USA, UK, and Canada. Category number 4, battery. According to a battery test conducted by PhoneBuff, the iPhone 14 Pro Max outlasted the Samsung S23 Ultra by 38 minutes. The iPhone 14 Pro Max has a 4,323 mAh battery capacity, while the Samsung S23 Ultra has a 5,000 mAh battery capacity. However, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has the advantage of custom-designed hardware and software. It is important to note that battery life can vary depending on usage and other factors. Some Reddit users have reported different results based on their usage. Let's move on to the most important point, category number 5, software feature. The iPhone 14 Pro Max and Samsung S23 Ultra have different software features that set them apart from each other. Here are some of the main differences. Operating system. The iPhone 14 Pro Max runs on iOS, while the Samsung S23 Ultra runs on Android. This means that the user interface, App Store, and available apps are different for each phone. User interface. iOS has a simpler and more streamlined user interface, while Android offers more customization options and a wider range of features. The choice between the two ultimately depends on the user's preferences. App Store. The Apple App Store has more stringent app approval policies, resulting in a more curated selection of apps. The Google Play Store, on the other hand, has a wider range of apps, including some that are not available on the App Store. Camera features. Both phones have impressive camera features, but they differ in terms of software. The Samsung S23 Ultra has a 200-megapixel camera, 100x space zoom, and other camera features that are not available on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. However, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a new 48-megapixel main camera, capable of shooting in both 12-megapixel and 48-megapixel RAW formats for more brightness or detail depending on what the user prefers. Battery life. While the performance between the Galaxy S23 Ultra and iPhone 14 Pro is the same, battery life is a lot better on Samsung's device. Don't forget to give us a free thumbs up if you enjoy the reviews. Let's move on. Category number 7, operating system. The iPhone 14 Pro Max and Samsung S23 Ultra have different operating systems that cater to different user preferences. Here are some of the main differences. Operating system. The iPhone 14 Pro Max runs on iOS, while the Samsung S23 Ultra runs on Android. This means that the user interface, App Store, and available apps are different for each phone. User interface. iOS has a simpler and more streamlined user interface, while Android offers more customization options and a wider range of features. The choice between the two ultimately depends on the user's preferences. App Store. The Apple App Store has more stringent app approval policies, resulting in a more curated selection of apps. The Google Play Store, on the other hand, has a wider range of apps, including some that are not available on the App Store. Camera features. Both phones have impressive camera features, but they differ in terms of software. The Samsung S23 Ultra has a 200-megapixel camera, 100x space zoom, and other camera features that are not available on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. However, the iPhone 14 Pro Max has a new 48-megapixel main camera, capable of shooting in both 12-megapixel and 48-megapixel RAW formats for more brightness or detail depending on what the user prefers. Battery life. While the performance between the Galaxy S23 Ultra and iPhone 14 Pro is the same, battery life is a lot better on Samsung's device. Now let's move to the final verdict, the big decision. Alright folks, it's decision time. Which is better, the iPhone 14 Pro Max or the Samsung S23 Ultra? The answer? It depends on you. If you like things simple, the iPhone is your buddy. It's like a superhero in its world, always there when you need it. But if you're the creative type who loves to customize, the Samsung might be your thing. It's like a magic toolbox with endless options. So, pick your phone in the description box, and may it be the start of a great partnership. Before you go, you may be interested in a relative topic, such as a comparison between Mac and Windows. Check on the screen if I have uploaded this video. If you've got questions or thoughts, drop them in the comments below. And remember to hit that subscribe button and check out our other cool videos. Stay curious, stay tech savvy, and until next time, happy exploring.